Sorry, I had to cough. But I wanted us to be sure, and it's a very important thing for us to realize that when we are in the Lord's will, we don't have to be afraid. And we may receive opposition from people. There have been times in my life that I have felt very strongly impressed to do a certain thing, and people around me didn't understand and did not think it was the right thing to do. And yet I had to follow the Lord in what I believed He was telling me. Now, He's not going to tell me to do something that's against His Scripture, what His Word says, the principles in His Scripture. But He does tell us to go outside, sometimes outside of what people consider to be acceptable. You do have to be very careful and make sure that you are hearing from the Lord, of course. But there's great safety and great courage when we know we're walking with the Lord and doing His will, that we can not be afraid. Then something that, of course, puzzles us all, I guess, is that He told them to kill every single person, man, woman, and child, and leave no survivors. And it's easy to gloss over this or to just plug your ears as you pass through this portion of Scripture whenever it comes about. And I was just sitting here musing on it, talking to the Lord, and again I come to that when there is an evil nation, in this case, they weren't as big as the nations of today, but in this case, if they are Satan worshipers, if they are heavy into bad stuff, I mean seriously heavy, the adults usually do indoctrinate their children into it. Like right now, those who are into satanic pedophilia and horrible stuff like that, their children are indoctrinated into it. So it stands to reason that if you leave the children alive, even if you don't leave the adults alive, the children have already had that worked into their brains. And we know from studies that if you indoctrinate children when they're very, very young, it's extremely difficult to change them as they get older. So I guess the fact is we're not going to understand perfectly every single thing that God does. He's God and we're not. His ways are not our ways. His ways are far higher than ours, and His purposes are often difficult to understand. But that helps me a little bit in these passages to know that the only reason He was doing that and telling them to kill everyone is that they had a heritage that the children would not be able to get out of, that they would carry on, and it was not acceptable. So I don't know if this helps you or if it makes more confusion, but I pray God's blessings on you, and have a great day in the Lord.